major in French and Spanish at the Department of Modern Languages and Linguistics. I chose to study French and Spanish for modern languages because it seemed like the automatic path for me after the period of self-discovery at secondary school, because I developed a lot of new interests when I was studying languages. I became more confident. I began to see the world differently.
Welcome. Good afternoon, good morning, buenos dias, bon dia, caufe. Welcome to the orientation session for the Department of Modern Languages and Linguistics. We're going to talk to you a lot about what's happening in this department, who is in this department, what we do in this department, and we're gonna introduce you to different people who are part and parcel of the offerings that we have. You will see people that will be your lecturers, your instructors, you will see the administrative staff, you will meet the head of department, and you will realize that a lot of the people who will be teaching you in the next few years that you spend in the Department of Modern Languages and Linguistics are also practitioners in various fields. You will have filmmakers, creative writers, singers, all kinds of activities that they perform outside of their teaching duties. You want to become a teacher like we are, some of us. You want to become an interpreter. You want to become an artist. All of this can happen while you are discovering the department. Just a couple housekeeping information. There will be a questions and answer. You will find it on the gallery of pictures. It's called DMLL questions and answers. So do feel free to ask your questions. And refer to that chat as well, because you will find the answers not only to your questions, but to other people's questions. Then we will give you some more details about how we're going to proceed with the academic advising, the one-on-one part. This one is more a general orientation session, and we'll give you the details of what's happening in the next 4 days in various virtual rooms like this one you are on today. So let me start by welcoming our head of department for some remarks. I'll now give the floor to Professor Elizabeth Walcott-Hackshaw.
Hi, thank you, Eric, my friend and longtime colleague in the French section. Let me start by saying welcome to everyone, students, staff, particularly our new students. Congratulations on having gotten here, and thank you for making the Department of Modern Languages and Linguistics your new virtual academic home. I'm going to speak to you briefly today about this department because I've been here for quite a while, only recently been made head, but I can talk to you about the time that I've spent here. This is a very international place, and right now it's an international space. Because we have lecturers from all over. We have lecturers from Trinidad, like me. We have from the region, like St. Lucia, Jamaica, Martinique. We have staff from Colombia, the UK, Spain, France, where Eric is now, Mauritius. We are an international department. And this is something that I have actually personally valued, because when you meet people from this department, you're not just meeting people who are bringing their skills and skills that they have mastered, but they're bringing with them their culture, their history, and the ways in which they interact with these subjects. And even Trinidadians interact with subjects in different ways. So this makes it a very sort of dynamic place to be. And I have benefited from it. As students, you need to benefit from it too. Because the lecturers here, and we do have very professional, well-trained, well-qualified lecturers. UE has a rigorous system. But they're not just bringing academic material to you. They're bringing ways in which they have interpreted that academic material, sometimes subjective, objective, but they're bringing their cultural experience to it. And this is a layer that you need to really understand how important it is here. Now, as Eric just said, we have all sorts of people in this department. We have wannabe athletes like me. We have filmmakers, we have radio personalities, we have a world within a world in the DMLL. And this is true. Students will say that. You just saw one student from who doing modern languages and linguistics who did modern languages talking about it. But I'll tell you, most of the students say that they form little worlds in the DMLL because we do have and I am boasting here, we do really create an experience for you where it is something that has an environment that is enriching. So let me tell you also about our administrative staff, because we have a fantastic academic staff, but we also have an incredible administrative staff. I've worked with them for a long time, and I can tell you that they are hardworking, they are professional, and most importantly, they are approachable. So when you email them or ask them questions, or you have any sort of issue, you can approach them, albeit virtually. Now, the dean spoke quite eloquently, I thought, in her orientation, and she talked about living in historic times. Now, people say this all the time. Oh, you're living through history, whatever, whatever. Well, folks, this is an historic period. This is not one that we will forget ever. 2020, easy number to remember, but also lots of easy things that come with it and very difficult things. But that's part of the collective memory. We will all have a collective memory about 2020. But I always ask myself, what will my memory of 2020 be within the context of this collective memory? Now, you have decided to focus on mastering a subject area. I have young adult children, and I can tell you, I think it's a very smart choice. Because what can you do now with your time? How can you improve where you are, even though we have to live through this pandemic? I don't think we need to become paralyzed right now, although sometimes you feel like that paralysis is right around the corner, but this is not the time to become paralyzed. I think this is the time to gain skills, to master subject areas that you can use in creative or traditional ways. And when the world opens up again, as I keep saying, and the world will open up again, you will have enriched and gathered information and knowledge and skills and experiences and made contacts with people that you can use afterwards. Because the one thing we know as we get older, and I'm not young, is that things never stay the same. Things will change and things will open up again. So what are you going to hear about today? You're going to hear about different programs from different members of staff. But while they're talking to you, I want you to think about how you're going to use that degree, because it's very important now for young students, young adults coming in. How are you going to use that degree? And you need to think about it from day one. It's important. And you need to talk to your lecturers, because we have a very approachable staff, both administrative and academic. Talk and see how you can use this degree. Like I said, I don't want to stay for too long. But I want to let you know, and I'll say it again, that we are here for you and you must let us help you. Especially now, you must let us try and help you. We're going through a transformative experience together, and together we have to meet that experience. And I am not going to, sit here, I guess, and tell you that it's going to be easy, because you're an adult. It's not going to be easy. There are going to be challenges, because a lot of times we're all approaching a lot of things for the first time. I can tell you that the staff has the skills, they're approachable, they know their subject matter, and we're going to deliver it as professionally as we can. But we are going to have challenges. But as I keep saying, and I say this to myself, this is not the time for paralysis. It is a time to move forward. It is a time for us to find solutions. And it is a time for me to thank you for choosing us to help you find those solutions and making the DMLL, Department of Modern Languages and Linguistics, because the two go beautifully together, languages and linguistics, making it your new virtual home. And thanks for choosing us. Thank you very much. Back to you, Eric.
I'm now going to introduce you to Dr. Ben Braithwaite. You might have seen his face on TV doing sign language interpreting. You know that those people have become famous worldwide, because most of the countries now are providing this type of interpreting, like it was not needed before, but maybe they came to realize through the pandemic that yes, there are people who need sign language interpreting to be informed and to keep abreast of a situation, especially in a crisis situation that we have right now. So Ben, over to you to talk in this first instance, because we're going to see more of you later, about the degree, the structure of the degree, how it works, how you pick courses, what number of credits you need to finish with, and also about academic advising itself. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Eric, and hello to everybody. I can't see you, but I can feel your presence, and I'm happy to feel it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in class and over the next few years. And as Eric said, I'm going to talk about your degree. I'm in linguistics, as well as coordinating a program in sign language interpreting. I also work in linguistics. And one of the things that we often do in linguistics is we debunk myths about language. There are all kinds of things that people think about language that some of the time are right, some of the time are wrong. And I don't know if you've ever heard what one of these myths is, the myth that Eskimos have 500 words for snow, or 50 words, or 5,000 words. There's various different versions of that, but you maybe heard that before. And that is a myth. It's a myth partly because there's no such thing as Eskimos. Actually, there are lots of different groups of people with different languages, and they don't like the word Eskimo. And it's not exactly true that they have either 50 or 500 or 5,000 words for snow. But the idea behind that is that I guess your culture influences the language that you use. And you might have more words for things that are in whatever way appropriate to your culture. I was trying to think about, okay, what do we have lots of words for in Trinidad? And I don't know, the first thing that came to my mind was there's lots of words for kind of stupidness. Like you call someone dotish or a jackass or a kunumunu or a chupidi or gadaha. That was new to me. I looked that up in the dictionary. Anyway, yeah, so Trinidad seems to have lots of words for stupidness. I'm not sure why that is. I don't think it's because there's more stupid people, but maybe there's more pecan goes on in Trinidad than in some other places. Well, Yui has an incredible number of words for different kinds of academic things, different things related to studying and your degree. And so what I'm going to try to do here is take you through some of these words, some of the words that you'll need to know, the kind of technical vocabulary, technical jargon of Yui. And I'm not sure why I was chosen to do this. Maybe because I'm a bit of a chubidi when it comes to this, and I tend to forget all of these words. One of the things that because of the time that we're living in, that you're missing out on, at least for now, which is a classic UE experience, is when you first come on campus in UE, you get lost all the time. You can't find your classroom. I know, I remember 13 years ago when I first came to Trinidad and I first came to UE, spending many sweaty hours looking for my classrooms. And so you won't be getting that exactly at the moment because our classes are all online, but you will perhaps be getting lost in the labyrinth of technical jargon at UE. So, okay, I'm going to start talking you through some of the words that you need to know. And I think the best way to do this probably is apply it to yourself. So program, that's one word. Your program, there are different kinds of programs. So some of you might be doing a degree. Some of you might be doing a certificate. We have a certificate in speech language pathology. Some of you might be doing a diploma. We have a diploma in Caribbean Sign Language Interpreting. I would think the majority of you will be doing a degree. So your degree is the kind of program that you're doing. And then you will specialize in a particular subject. So you might be doing a degree in French or a degree in linguistics or a degree in English language and literature with education or ELLE. So that's your program. And your program, you might be doing your program on a full-time basis or on a part-time basis, right? So I guess we have more full-time students than part-time students, but we have all kinds. And it is possible sometimes to switch between full-time and part-time, depending on your circumstances. And the significance of full-time or part-time really is how many courses you take per semester. Well, semester, there's another jargon word. So we have 2 semesters in a year. And if you're a full-time student, then that means that you take 5 courses on the whole per semester, which means you take 10 courses in a year. If you're a part-time student, then you do a maximum of 3 courses per semester. So, and there are some programs, on the whole, our programs, you could either be registered full-time or part-time. I know that the Diploma in Caribbean Sign Language Interpreting, that is only a part-time program. So if you're doing that, you're doing it part-time, which means, as I say, maximum of 3 courses per semester. So then what is a course? You know, that might seem obvious, but people get confused. I get confused between what's a course and what's a program and what's a module and what's credit and so on. Okay, I'm gonna try and share my screen. Here we go. So a course, examples of courses are, they'll have a course code like Ling 1005 and a name like Introduction to Language. So for each semester, for this coming semester, if you're a full-time student, you're going to be taking 5 of these. So they're different sub-areas within a discipline. So there are various different linguistics courses, different French courses. There's foundation courses, which are very important, like FOUN 1001, English for academic purposes, and all of you will take some foundation courses to provide you with a foundation that will allow you to be a successful student. So that's what your courses are. And selecting your courses, we're going to help you select your courses depending on what your program is and depending on what your interests are. Another set of terms that you'll hear are a major and a minor. So your major, that means the main area of study that you're pursuing. So you might have a major in linguistics. You'll already know this. So a major in linguistics, major in French, major in Spanish, and so on. And over the course of your program, you might decide to pursue a minor. And what that means is, as well as your main subject like linguistics, you might want to pursue a minor in Spanish, which means you take a whole set of courses in Spanish. And when you graduate, you can say your degree is major in linguistics with a minor in Spanish. You get some kind of formal recognition for having done both of those things. And on the whole, we get quite a lot of students who combine things like that within our department. As our head just said, linguistics and languages go together really, really well. So if you're taking linguistics, it's a good idea if you're interested to pursue one of the modern languages, or if you're taking one of the modern languages, it's often a good idea to pursue a minor in linguistics, or you may mix up French and Spanish or whatever combination. And again, you get more advising on how to do that as we go along. Okay, more jargon. So different types of courses. There are core courses for your program and there are elective courses. So the core courses are the courses that you have to take for your specific program. So if you're taking linguistics, there are certain courses that you have to take. And again, when you do academic advising, we will show you, okay, you must take this one and this one and this one. But outside those courses that you have to take, your core courses, you'll also have elective courses. And what that means is they're courses you could choose. So you could decide, well, I've got some space in my program here. There's no core course I have to do, so I could choose to do something I'm interested in. So I could choose to take a course in sign language, for example, or a course in language acquisition, or these courses could be sometimes within a department, or they could be other departments in our faculty. You could take an elective course in history or English literature or whatever, or even outside the faculty as well. So within each program, you'll find out what your core courses are. You have to do them. And then the elective courses, that's things that you could choose to do as well. Now, just to keep things interesting and complicated, as well as having courses, we also have credits. Now, credits are a way of kind of adding up how many courses you've done, whether you've finished your program or not. Most courses have 3 credits. They count for 3 credits. And then most programs, if you're full-time, remember, you take 5 courses per semester. That's 10 courses per year. That's 30 courses in 3 years. So that's 40 30 courses total for a regular degree program. There are some exceptions, which adds up to 90 credits. So it's another way of counting. The reason that we have these two different ways of counting is because there are some courses you could take which aren't three credits. In particular, you might want to look into, and the best place to go for more information on all of this stuff is the UE website, and especially our Faculty of Humanities and Education website. And on the UE website, you'll find information on what's called co-curricular courses. These count for credits for your first year, and you can do all kinds of exciting things like steel pan or defensive driving or financial literacy. If you're like me and you're not very good at managing your money, then that might be a good thing to take. So some of those courses are not 3 credits. So you have to make up your full amount of credits for your program. And usually that's 90 credits. And you might take 3 credit courses, or you might take combinations of other types of courses. Now, very important is academic advising. This is important because once you've got at least some of these terms in your head, you know what your program is, you know what your major is, you know what subject you're doing, you will go to academic advising, and we will give you more specific guidance specifically for you on what courses exactly you will take in your first semester. And actually, we have 2 kinds of academic advising. The first kind is the kind that you probably already heard about in the faculty orientation. That's happening this week. In fact, it starts today, from 1 to 4 today. And that will be a one-on-one session where we give you advice about what courses you should register for. And in addition to that, you will also get, in a while, probably in a couple of weeks, you'll get an individual academic advisor who you can see all the way through your, up to graduation. You're someone in your area who will help you to navigate life in UE. So if you have any issues or you want to change your program or whatever, that person will be able to help you. You will see when we do academic advising, there'll be a form that looks like this, and there are different forms for different majors, as you can see, and those forms will have all the different courses on them, including the number of credits, and you will understand all of this now, right, because I've gone through these terms. And some of the courses will be core and some will be electives, as you can see on that. So we'll talk you through that. And again, you can go to the UE website to get more information about this, and also to access the academic advising. So there is a page like this where you can go and click on, I think we're the green button there, where you can click and register for academic advising. And once you've done your academic advising, that's a key part of registering for your program. And when all of that's done, then the real excitement starts and you can start learning. And again, the process for registering is available in various places, including on the website. Only 7 steps, seems like quite a lot of steps to me, but 7 steps. And one of the key steps in that is your academic advising. But again, go on the website and you can get full information about all of those parts. So I think with that, I will hand you back to someone who is definitely not a kunumunu or a jackass or dotish or a chubidi, and that is Eric.
Thank you very much, Ben. Great job. I know it's a lot of information to digest, but I hope that you were able to get the gist of it, especially the numbers, because sometimes you have people in final year asking you, oh, I nearly graduated. And I said, no, you're not ready to graduate. You're missing a year 1 course. So pay attention to that. You do what we call a credit check from time to time. So it means you go to the faculty office and you ask them to find out if you're on the right track, if what you're doing is proper, you have your only requirements for your major, your minor, everything. Now moving on to the specific disciplines offered in our department, and we're going to start with Dr. Oscar Bazan, who is himself a creative writer and is the coordinator for the Spanish program. Oscar, over to you to talk about the Spanish offerings in the MLL.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everybody. In the next 3 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about the Spanish program and why it's important for your personal and professional development. The Spanish program is built on 3 main areas. The first one will be language, with courses that majors and minors will have to do every year. The second main area would be culture, either included in the language courses or different courses that deals with Spanish culture or Spanish civilization. The third main area would be literature, with courses that majors need to take every year. But now, the most important thing, why a Spanish major or minor would be great for your personal and professional development. First thing, it will broaden your horizons, which is very, very, very important. In the 1920s, a Spanish philosopher whose name was José de Ortega y Gasset grabbed an apple like this one and stood in the center of his classroom in the university where he used to teach in Spain and asked his students, "What do you see in my hand?" And the students, of course, said, "An apple." But he answered back, he said, "No, this is not an apple. What you are seeing is really a section, a fraction of the apple, depending on where you are sitting around this room. If you want to learn the whole apple, you need to learn all the perspective out of this room." And then he said, think that this apple is your reality. The way you look at it is very, very conditioned by your culture, your roots, the way you see things, the way you learn things. If you want to learn more pieces of your reality, you need to learn more cultures, more roots, more ways of seeing things. No? The Spanish program will open your eyes to a bigger section of this apple. You will not only learn to communicate in Spanish, but also to understand Spanish cultures, the roots behind that language, which will make you more aware of your surroundings, especially now with increasing numbers of immigration from Latin American countries in Trinidad. You will also get to experiment these new cultures. Either you decide to participate in the activities from the department, or you decide to travel to study abroad to Colombia or Spain when the borders open, of course, and the situation gets better, because it will get better. Regarding your professional development, well, Spanish is one of the most spoken languages in the world, which means that wherever you decide to go, Spanish will be an important asset to find a job. That's especially true in Trinidad. As I said before, with the immigration from Latin American countries, there is always a high demand for interpreters and translators. But Spanish is also important to find a job or job opportunities in many, many different areas. For example, in public administrations, art institutions, in social services, in general careers where language and written communications are especially important, such as advertisement, journalism, publishing, and public relations. Of course, also in education, but also in hospitality and travel sectors, in human resources and creative industries. So welcome to the Spanish program and enjoy. And that's everything from me. I'm gonna hand it over to our moderator, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oscar. And I'm very happy to give the floor. I'm happy to give the floor to everybody in the department, but especially to my colleague in the French section, the coordinator of the French section, who is a specialist on Caribbean literature and Caribbean cinema, herself a filmmaker, documentary filmmaker, full feature movie filmmaker. The floor is out to you, Sabrina, Dr. Chinian.
Thanks, Eric. Good morning, everyone. The world of work requires great communication skills. The French program will equip you for life, as you will learn more about the sociocultural realities, historical foundations, development, position in the world of both metropolitan France and the Francophone world. Develop your knowledge and understanding of the French language in all four modalities, that is listening, speaking, reading, writing. Independent analytical reading and reasoning are benefits derived from the program through literature, film, media, and philosophical notions. Greater career opportunities will arise from the advantage of a more sophisticated global perspective. Critical thinking gives you a fundamental advantage in this highly competitive world. The French literature program widens your insightful reasoning concerning French and Francophone artistic, sociopolitical, and historical contexts of certain specific eras. In literature, we will study intellectually stimulating texts from both metropolitan France and the Francophone world. Be the center of attention in business, social gatherings, and communication, as literature enhances your finesse and a je ne sais quoi. It also amplifies your insightfulness into the characteristics of other people, pivotal to better decision-making. Opportunities to study and travel abroad for a semester or for the whole academic year are offered by our program. Well, once it's possible to travel again. Dynamic practical immersion in both French language and culture are achieved through our very active French Society and Theatre Group. A whole range of cultural global employment opportunity await you apart from teaching. You can become a creative writer, work in international relations, be a translator or interpreter in the business world, or even the United Nations, work in the film, television, radio, media, literary, fashion, and of course, wine and the renowned culinary industries. Also, with the European spaceport located in French Guiana, there are regional career opportunities as well. Have an enriching learning experience with us, as our courses are online, and rest assured that we will give you our very best. And do reach out to us by email or by my e-learning if you have any questions. Thank you all for your attention. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chinian. E agora temos uma rainha da canção trinitária conosco. Que prazer. So if you want to understand what that was, you could just come and study Portuguese, and we have Heather Simon McIntosh explain to us what it is about.
Good morning to everyone. I thank you for choosing the Department of Modern Languages and Linguistics as your future. I represent the Brazilian Studies program. At the Brazilian Studies program, we have the opportunity of studying both the Portuguese language as well as the Brazilian culture. At the Portuguese and Brazilian Studies program, we have both the language and the culture. So in the case of the Portuguese language, we have PORT, P-O-R-T 1001 is the course that you will be looking out for, which is an introduction to Portuguese language. And you might be asking yourself, well, why do I study Portuguese language? What's the benefit in it for me? But Brazil has been known to be one of the advancing economies. We will have known about the BRIC economies, and Brazil is the leading one. And it is expected that Brazil will be a world superpower economically by the year 2030. So it will be in your best interest to learn the Portuguese language so that you will be on the cusp of all things that are futuristic come 2030. 2030 is only 10 years away. By the time you finish your degree, you just have about 3 or 4 years again to go before you lunge into the next decade. Also interesting to note is that Portuguese is the 6th most spoken language in the world. It is one of the best kept secrets. So it is possible for you to go and, one in every 20 or 30 persons is a Portuguese, a Lusophone speaker. The other thing that we need to bear in mind as well is that Portuguese is spoken on 4 continents. So it is spoken both in South America, as well as in Europe, as well as in Africa, as well as in Asia. So it means that if you are to consider studying in any or working in any of the 4 continents mentioned, having Portuguese would give you an advancement. And these are the places, the 4 continents that I spoke about, are the places where there are official languages, countries where the official language is Portuguese, but they are also members of the Portuguese diaspora in all parts of the world, just as Trinidadians are in all parts of the world. So you can find a large Brazilian community in North America and in other places in the world. Yeah, so at the Portuguese and Brazilian Studies program, we will be dealing with both the language and the culture. On the cultural aspects, we learn about the food, the festivals, the history, and the culture of the language. It is impossible for you to learn a language without learning the culture that goes with the language. The important thing is because it is possible for you to get the words right, but because you have the culture wrong, you can still get it wrong. Right? One of the classic cases of this is, for example, in our part of the world, when young people get married, the bride wears white because white in this part of the world represents purity. But in Asia, white represents death. You understand? So you will not see a bride in white in Asia because, you know, the man will be marrying a corpse. So it is necessary for you to learn the culture as well as the language because the culture feeds into what the language represents. So for the year ones this semester, as electives, Portuguese is not yet a major. You can do it as a minor, or you can do the Portuguese courses as electives, as Ben would have mentioned earlier. So we have two possible electives for persons who would like to think about doing Portuguese and or Brazilian studies. So PORT 1001 is the Portuguese language program, and the PORT 1003 is the Introduction to Brazilian Culture. So we look forward to seeing you all. Thank you very much. Back over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Heather. We're going to send the video. We have it ready, so it's short, so let's go ahead. Now over to Ben, who are already introduced, so he needs no more introduction. Over to you, Ben, for two things, linguistics and the Caribbean Sign Language interpreting.
Thank you, Eric, and hello, everybody again. When we do academic advising to new students every year, the most common question that we're asked in linguistics, I think, is, what is linguistics? People get an offer saying they've been admitted to the linguistics program, and lots of people don't know what linguistics is. Or maybe you're a Spanish major and you heard us talk about linguistics and you're not absolutely certain what that means. And if you feel that way, don't worry, because that's how most people feel. That's how I felt when I first started studying many, many years ago. And you might Google it and try to find the answer, and you might not be very lucky. Well, I don't know. You get some answers, but they may or may not be accurate, as you can see from the slide there. I'm not going to comment about whether all linguists are feckless posers. Perhaps some of them are. Perhaps you already have an opinion on this. I'm not sure. Anyway, or you might have seen linguists in movies, I mean, not many movies, but a few movies. For example, in the movie Thor, they asked for a linguist. Get someone from the linguistics department down here. You might have seen the film Arrival, where a linguist saves the world. Again, whether that's really true, whether us linguists are really saving the world and interacting with our superheroes, I'm not certain. Well, I'll tell you some things that we do actually do. Here's some pictures of some actual linguistics at work. Some of these people are, well, all of these pictures come from work that students or former students have done. So you can see here in Trinidad, linguists work on patois or French Creole, which is still spoken, as well as contributing so much to the language that all Trinis speak. There are still people who speak patois, and also people who still speak Bhojpuri. And we have linguists going out there and doing research on those languages, documenting those languages, also Amerindian languages. So the picture at the bottom there shows a UE linguistics student who is currently involved in a project which is trying to document and revive the Lokono language, which is what people call, what you might have heard of as Arawak. So there are lots of different languages and linguists work on those languages. We have, for example, we have class trips. We might not be able to do a class trip this semester, but I'm sure you'll have an opportunity at some other time. That you can see in the picture here, a group of students on a boat on a river in Guyana, and they were going to look at another language over there. And this time actually it's a sign language. So it's not a spoken language, but a sign language. And have a little GIF there, GIF. Linguists look into attitudes towards different pronunciations as well. Do you say GIF? Do you say GIF? I think I say GIF, but don't be offended if you're the GIF camp. And this GIF on the slide there shows a sign from this language that had never been studied before the UE students went to that community. And I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to guess. You can shout out to your phone, shout out to your computer. You don't need to turn your audio on because it will be a racket. You can shout it out, or in your mind, you can shout it out. Think, well, what does that mean? And the answer is, that's actually the sign in their language for dream. One of my favorite signs. And as well as looking at different languages, we're also interested in other ways in which language and communication can happen. So the Caribbean's an incredibly rich place for this. So I don't know if anyone has heard of the abeng, or talking horn, which is still used by some people in parts of Jamaica to transmit language. So you speak using the horn. Something funny has happened with my connection. Hang on. Okay, here we are. And of course, as well as the words that come out of our mouths or come out of our hands, we do other things that communicate as well. So you might recognize this gesture here. This is a classic Caribbean gesture as a cut-eye, right? I've experienced a few cut-eyes in my time. Or emojis, how are emojis used to transmit information? What's the relationship between an emoji and a language? Different kinds of writing systems, different kinds of ways in which language is used on the internet. I think even, I'm going to try now to convince you that we can look at the linguistics of telepathy too. So if you think about the English plural, right? English plural, something you learn about at school. I know it's a grammatical thing you learn about at school. You all know the English plural. You all know that we say one dog, but if it's plural, what sound do you make at the end of the word to indicate that it's plural? Again, shout at your screens, but don't turn your audio on. And what I predict you're thinking is you add an S, or you're saying you add the sound S. But in fact, two dogs, the sound that you add at the end there is not actually an S sound. It's a Z sound, right? You say two dogs. Try it out for yourself. Dogs, dogs. Do you really say dogs with a S sound? I think you actually say it with a Z sound. So sometimes what linguists do is they take things that appear to be familiar and they find out that they're not quite as familiar as they might seem. I'm also going to ask you a question. Okay, what does the English plural mean? And I'm predicting by my skills of telepathy that you're saying plural means more than one, right? Plural means more than one. So if you have 2 dogs, that's more than one, so you have the plural. If you have 1 dog, that's just the one, so you don't have an S on the end. But what about this? How many dogs do we see on the screen now? And you're saying you don't see any dogs, right? No dogs. No dogs. That's plural. No dogs. There's a Z on the end. So what does that tell us? That tells us that plural doesn't mean what we thought it meant. I'm assuming that my telepathy skills are working for you, but so maybe the plural doesn't mean more than one, because if there's none, that's not more than one. So maybe the plural means something like not one, anything other than one of something. So that's some of the things that people do in linguistics. To be honest, I can't even scratch the surface of what happens in linguistics, because even within our department, we have lots of different types of linguists. So we have people who are interested in how languages are learned by babies or by adults. We have people who are interested in sociolinguistics, people's attitudes to language, the way language is used in real life by different kinds of groups, sign languages and Creole languages and so on. And in terms of jobs, that also means that linguistics opens up all kinds of different potential job opportunities for you. So, for example, through more traditional jobs like language teaching, we have lots of students who study linguistics and are now in Japan teaching English, or they might go to France and teach English. They might combine it with a language. Think about a company like Coca-Cola, a big international company. When they come to Trinidad and they want to market their product here, let's say they're doing a campaign where they have names on the cans, right, or on the bottles. They're going to need someone with some expert local knowledge in order to know, okay, what's culturally appropriate there? What kind of names are common here? And if they want to make local adverts, they might want to use Creole in their advertising. Again, they're going to need a language specialist who is able to tell them, okay, this is how you could express that in a natural way. You might want to go on and do research. We have lots of people, as we saw in the slides before, who go and do research on all the many different types of languages, whether they're spoken or signed or even blown through a horn or whistled. You might want to get into translation or interpreting or editing or entrepreneurialism, entrepreneurship. I need to study my French, I guess. Think about speech-to-text recognition, or like when you're talking to Siri. If you talk to Siri in a Trini accent, does Siri understand you? And if your answer is no, why do you think that is? And if you think that is because maybe it hasn't been programmed, the research hasn't been done in order to allow Siri to understand Trini speech or Jamaican speech or Guyanese speech, then you see an opportunity there, right? A big opportunity for doing research that could be really entrepreneurial and have real uses in real life and in terms of business. You could be the next linguist billionaire, maybe. I want to now just quickly touch on the sign language program in particular. So we have a diploma in Caribbean Sign Language Interpreting. And as I think Eric said earlier, you might have seen sign language interpreters a lot more in the last year than you ever did before, because we have them at all the press conferences. For the first time ever this year, the election results were covered all the way through with sign language interpreters on the TV. You might recognize a number of different interpreters have been working, but you might recognize this one. The guy in this picture here, his name's Ian Danulau, and he's deaf. He was actually the first deaf sign language interpreter to work on the TV doing this work. And he's also a tutor in our program. So you'll be learning from the very best people, at least in Ian's case. And one of the things that you'll be learning, another misconception maybe for some people, is that there are lots of different sign languages. They're not all the same. They're quite different. So for example, I'm showing you here from 3 different Caribbean sign languages, 3 different signs that all mean more or less the same thing. They all mean bad. So if you're getting a buff in these different places by these different people, they're going to do it in a different way because they have different sign languages and different signs. So one of the other things that you'll learn about in our sign language program, it's called Caribbean Sign Language Interpreting, which means you're going to learn about signs and deaf communities all throughout the Caribbean. And finally, you might remember, I was reminded of this recently on Twitter, because I think on Twitter, everyone was roasting this particular reporter because of a thing that came up in one of the press conferences recently. And they were bringing up the fact that a couple of years ago, she did an interview with a deaf man who had been the only eyewitness to a helicopter crashing. And she did an interview with him where she didn't speak and she didn't have an interpreter. She just let him sign. And there were lots of people saying, well, that's stupid. She should have an she should have an interpreter. But in fact, in the case of this man, he uses a kind of sign language which is totally different from what you'll find in the rest of the country. So another thing that you'll learn about in our sign language diploma is, how does that work? Why is that? Where did these languages come from? And that will bring you into all kinds of possible careers, not just in terms of sign language interpreting, but also research and education and all kinds of different ways in which you might contribute towards the well-being of deaf communities in the Caribbean and in Trinidad and Tobago. So with that, I will pass you right back to Eric.
Thank you, Ben, for a very exciting presentation. You must have gotten about 17 new students in these few minutes. Just a little note, remember to check the Facebook page of the department. You will find some very interesting information, especially in the notes section. There will be questions that you might have to ask and you will find the answers there. So do not hesitate to visit the DMLL UE page, but also the DMLL Facebook page. I remind you also to ask your questions on the DMLL Q&A dialog box that you will see on your screen. And now we're going to move on to our St. Lucian colleagues. Sakafet, Sakamache, Kaufe. Which one goes in St. Lucia? All of them?
Sakafet.
Sakafet.
Either one. Sakafet or Southfair.
Sakamache is more Haiti, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Over to you, Dr. Sandra Evans, to talk about the ELLEO. You're going to have a lovely time with acronyms that you will love acronyms. So much so that sometimes you just call the acronym and you can't even spell out what it is because you are accustomed using the same acronym. So what is ELLE, Dr. Evans?
Okay, good morning, everyone. ELLE, it is the acronym for the English Language and Literature with Education Program. Now, because I only have 3 minutes, I just have enough time to highlight a couple of important things about the program. So it is a carefully designed program for both current and prospective English teachers. So this means that upon completion of the program, you will be eligible to teach English at the secondary school level. Now, when I say English, I mean that you will be eligible to teach English A at the lower secondary level, CSEC, English A and B, CAPE, Literatures in English, and I think in some cases like Trinidad, it goes from forms 1 to 6. So you may also have to teach CAPE Communication Studies. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, as the acronym suggests, ELLE stands for 3 departments. Sorry, I have a bug here. It is cross-departmental, and what this means is that the courses were pre-selected or chosen from 3 different departments. So from our department, which is Modern Languages and Linguistics, you do linguistics courses and English Language Foundation courses. The Literatures in English courses, you come from the Department of Literary, Cultural, and Communication Studies department. Well, And the education courses you do with the School of Education. So because, as I mentioned, that the courses are pre-selected, what this means is that they've already been chosen for you for each level, for the so the entire degree has been laid out for you. So unlike other students in the department who may have to worry about choosing electives, and sometimes students come and they don't know what to choose, they don't know what they're interested in. For ELLE students, all of the courses are pre-selected, so you don't have to worry or go through the hassle of having to select courses. Some students don't really like it, but I think, they do appreciate it because they come to appreciate it because they don't have to worry. And of course, you will spend less time at academic advising, because the course is already selected for you. In terms of what you can do with an ELLE degree, I think it is a good start to a career in teaching English at the secondary level. So if you've always had a burning desire to become an English teacher, then this is certainly a good program for you. It is also, I think it has proven to be a good stepping stone to graduate degree programs in linguistics, in literatures in English, or some of our students, they go on to do the diploma in education. As a matter of fact, one of our past students, one of our recent graduates, Samantha Jackson, she just graduated with a PhD degree in linguistics, but she was an ELLE major. So it's a good stepping stone. If you don't really want to teach at the secondary level, you can go on to do a higher degree and perhaps end up teaching at the university level if you so desire. Okay, I think that is it for now. If you have any questions, you will see me a little later in academic advising, so you will be able to ask anything else. But I think in a nutshell, that's it. So Eric, back to you.
Moving on to a program that has been growing, SLP, Speech Language Pathology, because of the needs of the society and the fact that there's an interest out there for this type of programs. I'm now giving the floor to Dr. Kiara Matthews.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to have you here and to have you join us here at the Department of Modern Languages and Linguistics. I'll be talking about the minor in speech language pathology, which also, if for someone who has left university already, is coupled or aligned with the certificate in speech language pathology. Speech language pathology falls under the bracket of clinical linguistics, and based on what you've heard already from Dr. Evans and Dr. Braithwaite, it's like, how could linguistics be clinical? And here is where I come. Please remember to direct all your questions to the relevant chat. Why this minor or field of study? It is an introduction to clinical linguistics, and it blends humanities, social science, and medical science. As a matter of fact, 2 of the level 1 courses are coded MDSC, which were housed in the medical science faculty. And there's a lot of collaboration between myself and the medical science faculty in delivering these 2 courses. And it uses the interest of language or languages for therapeutic and rehabilitative purposes. So whether it be a nonverbal child with autism, or an older person who suffered a stroke, or a young adult who stutters, all these things encompass language and languages in a therapeutic and rehabilitative way. If your main interest is sign language, multilingualism, or just interdisciplinary learning in general, I do think that this is a good complementary minor to supplement or to go with what you are already interested in. It pairs well with all the linguistics majors and all the DMLL majors, sorry, and I'll get into why soon. So this minor has the prerequisites to pursue advanced degrees to become a speech language pathologist like myself, an audiologist, or a speech and hearing scientist. These degrees, to practice in these professions, you need a master's degree or a clinical doctorate. So the minor or diploma will not be sufficient to become a clinician. However, many students have taken the minor or certificates to pursue further studies, both locally and internationally. However, if a clinician career is not for you, it supplements becoming a software and hardware engineer developer for augmentative and alternative communication. So that includes devices, apps, hearing aids, or sound amplifiers, etc. If you want to become a special educator in who specializes in communication, a dialect coach, you know, all those actors who get their accents wrong all the time, specifically Caribbean accents, because somehow everybody sounds Jamaican, or a vocal trainer. There's currently a student in the minor who is a vocal trainer and is using the knowledge that he's getting now to work on his already established career, or to become an applied behavior analyst or therapist or a behavior therapist. So it works well with the interpreting of sign and spoken languages because multilingual or multimodal clinicians are rare. And in having something like that, so for example, none of the speech therapists or audiologists in Trinidad and Tobago are fluent in sign language. So we are always calling on interpreters to help us out. And there is one bilingual speech language pathologist. She speaks Spanish and English. And you can imagine with the influx of immigrants from all across the world that providing services in English for someone whose first language is not English is not ideal. So regardless of what your primary interest is, I think a minor would supplement anything that you do. And if it is that you do decide to become a clinician, whether in speech language pathology, audiology, or general speech and hearing science, this is a nice package for you to get everything that you need to pursue further studies. So if you're interested in getting something unique, because you know not everyone knows about clinical linguistics, not everyone knows about linguistics, diversifying your knowledge and experience, like what Professor Hackshaw said, you know, the DMLL gives you a nice world. It's our own little world, and it can take you outside of just humanities and give you a little bit of med sci, give you a little bit of soci, give you a bit of other things that you don't always get just in humanities. If you want to enrich your resume or skill set, or if you want to become a clinician in any of the clinical linguistics or para-health fields. I want to stress this a lot. Anyone taking this particular minor will be an asset to the workforce, the SLP and audiology workforce of Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, specifically because most of us got our advanced degrees internationally. Fortunately for me, I began my undergraduate studies here, so I do have some sense and understanding of how things go. And there are 8 SLPs in the Caribbean, 7 SLPs in the Caribbean who were trained regionally. And the assets that they have provided to us, because they know how Caribbean linguistics work. And we're not just applying international standards to our clients, our patients, because, for example, on an American assessment, a child saying both and with instead of both and with would classify as a disorder, whereas we know dialectally that it's not. So if you are interested, please choose this minor. If you're not interested, take an elective or not and see if this is something you would be interested in. So thanks again, and looking forward to seeing you in academic advice today.
Thank
you,
you very
Eric.
much. Thank you very much, Chiara. Now I feel really bad. I feel really bad because I'm going to have to ask two people who love to talk, a radio personality and a songstress, to please be brief because we have gone over the limit already. So now over to the 10 Days executive writer, the radio personality, Rhoda Barat, to talk to us about the ALP. Rhoda, over to you. Unmute your mic.
Hi, good morning. And Eric, thank you so much for that introduction. And I have no problems making it as quick as possible. As a matter of fact, this thing looking like it's telling me it didn't want me to share my screen. So let me get straight into it. Let me tell you what we do at the Academic Literacies Program, because I've been with that program for forever, since around 2002, when Merle Hodge would have been in charge of it. And we students are responsible for ensuring that when you have to communicate, either orally or written in terms of your essays and assignments, that the caliber of language that you use is far more academic than it is casual. If you were doing linguistics, for instance, and if you were listening carefully to when Ben was speaking earlier, he talked about the range of languages that you can use. If you end up in communications, as an example, there are a range of ways that you can communicate with people. The way that we focus on would be the more formal academic style of writing. So who are we? We are a multidisciplinary cross-faculty program that focuses on honing and improving your writing skills, your editing skills, your research and documentation skills, and of course your critical thinking skills. Our offices are located on the ground floor of the building that has the clock on it. I know in a virtual space it's not that important, but on the off chance that you have to come in and interact with the clerical staff there, look for KFC, and the office that's closest to KFC, that's us. What do? We have a series of courses. Now, depending on what your degree program is in, that will determine which course you do with us. So we offer the English language proficiency test, which some of you may have to take based on what prerequisites are needed, depending on what you would have done at O levels or at A levels. Then there is the preparatory academic writing course for students that are getting into the creative arts, for instance, especially the music program. Then there is Found 1001, English for academic purposes. Found 1103, report and argument writing. And usually our law students and history students do that course. Then you have writing about literature. So students that are doing in all of the various literatures, whether it's English, Spanish, or French, you tend to do writing about literature. There's science and technical writing. The students that do that are not in this particular faculty. Then there's academic writing for research purposes, and students from social sciences and from the Faculty of Humanities and Education do that course. And there's academic writing for the visual and performing arts. And that's, of course, mostly students that fall into DCFA, although from time to time we've had students from other programs sneak into the course. But your academic advising form lets you know which one of the foundation courses you are meant to do. And you're normally doing two of the foundation courses with us, one in semester one, one in semester two. So once you come around to us in academic advising, we will indicate to you which specific courses you're going to have to do. Now, if you're a little bit uncertain about your language acquisition skills, some of us are, I certainly was at a point in time, do not be afraid. We provide support. So we have writing workshops, we have grammar workshops, we have the writing center, and we also have, for students that need that extra little one-on-one nudge, we have practice writing and special tutoring writing sessions available for students. And I know my colleague Janique is going to talk about the writing center in greater detail in a little bit. And the thing that, you know, most of us here would be interested in, what do we prepare you for with our courses? Like, what careers can you get into? Editing. Definitely, if you want to get into editing, our courses prepare you for that. Research, if you want to get into doing research and doing more rigorous research, we hone those skills for you. Proofreading, curriculum development, writing, as if you're into creative writing or even technical writing for journals and magazines, journalism, and of course, in general, we prepare you for life. And Eric, right back over to you.
Thank you very much, Rhoda. So more royalty in the house now. Janik Dennis gonna talk to. Don't kill them with the acronyms now. You have a whole list of acronyms on your program, so go easy on them. You could do it in song, as I know you could sing. Unmute your mic. Over to you, Janik.
Kind of point. I'm going to talk very quickly about student support services. Yeah. So at the moment, life is happening. That tends to be the way it is. And while we are here on this side, the academic and administrative staff, to support you, the students, need to know what is available to you so you can maximize these support resources. All right. So while this is working itself out, please take notes so that you can access what you need when you need it. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the Writing Center. That's TWC. So yes, you can write down that acronym. Then I'm going to speak with you really quickly about Student Staff Liaison Committee, which is SSLC. You're going to want to write that down as well. And the SLD, the Student Life Development Department. And finally, the Advisor Advisory Program. Okay, so your Writing Center is there to support you with academic writing and English language writing. Right now, it's all virtual. Give thanks to the odd situation. So when you enter into My e-learning, please write that down. My e-learning, then one of your courses will be the Writing Center. You would never have registered for it, you wouldn't have selected it, but it's going to be there and available to you. All you have to do is scroll down, please write this, scroll down and you will see I'm a student, enroll me. And then you enter into the Writing Center. It's not an actual course, it doesn't impact your GPA or your financial situation. All it does is allow you access to get coaching and to have access to our resources. So we do have some resources online for you inside of the My Learning, all right? I want you to just really quickly take down the Writing Center email address that's on the screen, coming and going, but on the screen, so that if you have any questions or queries, you can get in touch with them, all right? They are officially open with teaching, so next week, you'll be able to see a coach, but the resources are available right now, so you can start to access those. Okay, moving on to the next one, the Student Staff Liaison Committees. This is extremely important to enhance and epitomize the best possible experience as a student. So once you're in a course, each class will select a representative, and that representative will attend the Student Staff Liaison Committee meetings, SSLCs. And you all will voice through your representative what are your preferences, what are the best parts of your courses, what you want your lecturers and your program coordinators, etc., to keep doing, and what areas you all would like to see improved and how you'd like to see it improved. So this is really important to getting the best academic experience, all right? And it looks really good on your CV, so feel free to sign up to be your class rep. The Student Life Development Department is there to help with all sorts of life issues, anything that happens. If you have queries, problems, personal problems from dysgraphia, which is a writing, a different writing ability, so dyslexia, a different learning ability, they can find ways to make the system work for you. You work with them, and they keep all of your information confidential, and then they work with us and say, listen, this student is going to need this, this student is going to need that, in order to make sure that you have the best possible chance to do your best while you're here with us. So you can just find them on the STAUE website to contact them. And finally, the Advisor Advisory Program, which is different to academic advising. In the Advisor Advisory Program, you will be assigned an individual personal advisor for your degree program. And this person is going to work with you throughout the length of your program to help you. So maybe you forget the resources I just told you, or you're not sure what other resources are available, and you have problems or you have questions, and your advisor is going to say to you, okay, you know what you can do? We can do this, we can do that. Let's talk to that someone. Here's an email address, here's a phone number. And they can help you through academic as well as non-academic issues and give you guidance in the right direction. So your program coordinators and your lecturers will advise you who is your personal advisor. And you want to hold on to that person. Now remember, that's separate from academic advising. So you're going to need both of them. All right, and I am going to stop sharing my screen. And back to you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Janik. Thank you all presenters. Thank you, students. You've been a wonderful audience, not unruly at all. We haven't heard a peep from you, but I hope you got a lot of information. If it was at times confusing, or if you have more questions, do not forget to check all the other resources that we have at your disposal, the MLL website, the Facebook page, the Instagram, and of course, please attend the various academic advising sessions starting this afternoon at 1 p.m., continuing tomorrow 10 to 12, 1 to 4, Wednesday 10 to 12, 1 to 4, and Friday, same thing, 10 to 12, 1 to 4. So this is for new students. Of course, we know that some of you might want to go from department to department because you're interested in different things. Some of you might be interested in doing cross-faculty majors and minors. So please get informed from the other faculties and the other departments to find out when their academic advising sessions are, so that you can make sure that your timetables don't clash. Because even though we are in virtual mode, there will be the possibility of classes taking place same day, same time. Thank you all once again. And I think that's about it. It's a wrap. Thank you all. Have a good day and have a wonderful academic advising sessions ahead and a wonderful degree at UE.
Bye, everybody.
Double major in French and Spanish at the Department of Modern Languages and Linguistics. I chose to study French and Spanish for modern languages because it seemed like the automatic path for me after the period of self-discovery at secondary school, because I developed a lot of new interests when I was studying languages. I became more confident. I began to see the world differently.